Good morning and welcome to Outside the Box. I'm Brooke Benscooter and we lost our little open, our new little open. It's so sad because Ryan spent so much time working on our new little open.
We're going to be getting that over our ads, so you'll
Okay,
be able to enjoy it over
okay,
then.
so you'll get to see
Yeah.
Ryan's great little open. Anyway, today my guest is going to come to us from Skype. It's spring outside. It's time to think about purging, cleaning, renewal. And my guest today is Mary Sigmund, who is joining us by Skype from Fountain Inn, South Carolina. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Brooke.
Oh, you look wonderful. And look, you look so springy. I love it. Anyway, I'm going to give just a quick backstory on Mary before we get started, just so people understand how she came to be my guest today. Mary spent a considerable amount of time in Des Moines as a professional organizer and coach, and just recently moved to Fountain Inn. Now, what we know about Mary is she also makes pilgrimages back to the Des Moines area. She actually lived in Ames, but many of the clients she worked with are still people living in central Iowa. So there was nobody when I thought about doing a spring show that I could think of that would be more able to help people look at things and reframe things than Mary Sigmund. So with that, Mary, I hope you don't mind. We're going to get started
That's
and
good.
and talk about just about what opportunity spring represents for people who have really spent the whole winter inside, maybe not even taking the trash out because of the snow.
Okay, sure. Well, my experience has been that spring brings a lot of energy and renewal to people. They become more aware of their environment because they've got the windows and the doors starting to open up, and they start to see, well, there's clutter here, there's a place here that needs to be better organized. And that's when I start getting calls from my spring people to come in and help them sort through and declutter and set up organizational systems. So it's an excellent time. There's really two prime times that people love to get organized, and that's right after the new year, and then also when spring starts to break.
So let's say we don't have the ability to have Mary fly in today. What are some things people can do? Because I think often people are very overwhelmed by what they see and what has built up,
Right.
and often are paralyzed by that.
hmm
So
Well,
what can they start doing?
okay. Well, I like to start out by sharing the three main principles of organization. And number one is a commitment. If it is something that you really want to accomplish and do, I suggest that you check yourself and make sure that you have the commitment that it's something that you really want to do, because it does take some time and energy, and that commitment really needs to be there, or you'll get started and then you'll get discouraged and not want to move forward. The second thing is chunking it down into small manageable tasks, and I think that is helpful because you get to experience some success if you take a small task. So I always say, instead of doing your entire kitchen or your whole office, start with one drawer or one cabinet and or one pile of papers on your desk and sort through that and get that done. And then the third principle is making it real in time, getting some time dedicated in your calendar for the process, so that you've made an appointment with yourself and you're not so likely to put it off or say, oh, well, maybe not this week, maybe next week, because if you don't make it real in time, then it ends up not really happening. So, and then I think that's one of the ways that I am able to help people best, is because they have set aside that appointment. They've made that appointment with me. They know that I'm going to come. I'm going to be there with them for 4 hours. We're going to really dig in and get it done. So those are the three things that I suggest people begin with.
It's really hard, I think, if you have kids. And I think oftentimes people think they have to clean up after the kids. Is there a way people can start to get their children involved in kind of decluttering, and really have a kind of a team working rather than just mom herself or dad himself, so that more gets done and people start to have an appreciation for how much stuff they have?
Well, my experience has been that children really value structure and they value organization. So I think if you can find an age-appropriate task to give your children while you're going through the organizing process, they'll be more than happy to help out. The thing that really needs to be kept in mind is that we're always modeling for our children. And if we're modeling disorganization, then that's what they're learning and that's what they're going to carry through into their adult life. But if we start to model organization, if they start seeing us organizing and decluttering, then that's the message that they're going to get, and that's going to change their mindset and their perspective as well.
So really, children can learn one of the things I think you and I have talked about is the fact that you don't just get organized, you need to live organized to continue to perpetuate what you've done as far as decluttering. So as far as modeling, teaching kids about living organized and having a place for everything, and so kids know where things are as well as mom and dad.
Right. Yeah, getting organized is in one part it's an action, of course, because you have to actually do it, but in a lot of ways it's a mindset. I always suggest to people that they consider the mindset being looking around on a daily basis, really, because it takes daily maintenance, and asking themselves, what can I declutter, what can I get rid of, what can I go through and organize today, and what can I do to maintain my organization so that they end up doing it on a daily basis, and it becomes more of a mindset in that way. If you think of it as part of life, really, not just something that you do when the mood strikes you or when you have the opportunity, but something that is integral to your daily success and maintenance.
So if somebody decides they want to contact you as a professional organizer, my first reaction would be, I have to clean up before my professional organizer comes.
Like cleaning for the cleaning lady?
Yeah, cleaning for the cleaning lady, don't you think?
No.
So the question I have is, not all people are ready, but how do you know when you are ready? And then how do you find someone like you to help?
Okay. I always tell people, if disorganization or clutter are making you unhappy, causing you stress, costing you money, or interfering with your success, then it's time to start thinking about getting organized. And if you are overwhelmed or stuck, really a professional organizer is the way to go. You can find a professional organizer in your area by going to the National Association of Professional Organizers website, and that is NAPO, NAPO.net. And that is a central database for all professional organizers nationwide, and also I think in Canada, and also it will determine whether the person is certified or not, and then you can contact someone directly through that website, through their referral system.
Now, you and I have talked about this because I'm interested in doing professional organizing, and you have to do a lot to get certified. So how do you know if it's okay to work with someone who's working towards certification but may not be yet certified by NAPO?
I worked for I started in 1996, and I became certified in the inaugural group. They finally started offering certification in, oh gee, what was it? I think it was 2009.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, and I honed my skills those first years, and I think I was as good an organizer in a lot of ways then as I am now. And because I've had experience, of course, I've learned a lot of things along the way, and I do like to coach people who are thinking about becoming organizers, because I do have that 17 years of experience, so I've pretty much seen it all, is the way I like to say it. And but
Yes, you have.
would have no qualms whatsoever hiring someone who hasn't achieved the certification, or who's just beginning, because it's a skill set. The certification certainly gives you a degree of credibility, because you can say, okay, I've done it for this long and I've done this much and I've become certified. But a professional organizer is born. They're not really made. I mean, if you're meant to be an organizer, you know it in your core being. This is who I am. This is who I'm meant to be and what I'm meant to do. So I wouldn't have any qualms about hiring someone who's either just starting out or working towards certification. And especially for someone like you, who's had so much experience working with a professional organizer, I think pretty much how it goes and what you need to do.
Well, and don't you think too that you have to find the right personality match, because not everybody gets along with everybody the same way. So interviewing people and getting to know what their approach is and whether that's comfortable for you would be really key as well.
Oh, I 100% agree with you. I think there has to be a personality match. I think that you have to like the person that you're working with. But um, you know, I think that's natural. I think it happens naturally. I think that once you start talking to someone, you start to realize, okay, I enjoy their sense of humor, or I can tell that this person is not going to judge me, and you feel comfort, like you say, it's a comfort level. So when you're speaking with people, when you're interviewing professional organizers, I would look for that. I would look for that feeling of, do I feel comfortable with this person? Because when you think about it, they're seeing the down and dirty of your life. They're coming in and they're going to know a lot about you, and so they have to be someone that you feel comfortable with and feel that you're not being judged by.
One of the things that I will say is that Mary and I have worked together for 10 years at least.
At least.
A long time. And one of the things that I find most valuable is two things. One is the focus of the 4 hours or whatever session you have together.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second is the ability to have another person who says to you, what happens if you throw this away or give this away or sell this? What really happens? Because I think often we have a myth about our belongings, and that without them somehow we're less of a person. Mm-hmm. Or that you have to keep something forever, like your high school yearbooks. Mm-hmm. I think the epiphany for me came the day you said to me, well, instead of keeping those 8 books, how about if we just tear out the pages that you're on?
That?
You did say that.
Did I say that?
Yes, and I actually did it.
Have you ever regretted it?
Once.
Okay.
when I wanted to see what somebody who was on another page looked like.
It just doesn't sound like me, but I mean, if you say it happened, it happened. Knowing what I know today, my recommendation would be save the ones that you're in. Yep. The ones that you are in, and just save those. I mean, I still have my high school and my college yearbooks, and I really enjoy going through and seeing how people look back in the olden days.
Well, especially now that we have Facebook and things like that
Right.
where you might want to catch up with somebody and find out what they look like.
Or what their name was.
Right,
They're like,
exactly.
who was that?
Yep. I
Who's
get
the name?
contacted on Facebook and I'll be like, okay, I don't remember you,
Right,
but just a
right.
minute, I'm sure I will. So, so, but taking that, that time just to focus on just that and to really ask those questions about each thing. And often it could be as simple as a piece of paper that you've had hanging on the bulletin board for months, or you know, a set of pictures. Are you going to go through them? Just asking that question and having somebody help you answer it about why you're keeping something.
Really, you're so right. And also, you have to use your instincts. Sometimes when I'm going through something of my own, let's say organizing, I'll get a feeling about a thing, and I'll say, it'll tug at my heart a little bit, and I'll think, well, maybe I'm just not ready to get rid of this yet. So, follow your inner guidance. That's the best guide that you have as your inner feelings. But I find that people who are sentimental and people who are artistic are the biggest holder honors of stuff. And so what I like to do when I work with those people is really work through it and find other systems that they can create to satisfy their need for whatever it is that they're keeping. Just as a for instance, I worked with an artist years ago, and she had a big bag or box of the cores of paper towels, just the core. And I said, why are you holding on to these? And she said, well, there's a art project that I was thinking about. You use a paper towel core. And I said, well, why don't we keep just one and throw the other 150 that you've saved away? And then if you ever decide to do that project, it's going to be really, really easy for you to collect up a whole bunch more, so you can do that project. So not having to save everything, maybe just keep a sampling of something. And the same with sentimental people. If they, let's say they have all of their grandmother's clothes or something, my suggestion would be pick out the one thing that you think is, the best, and maybe display it or in some way if it's that interesting to you, or put it away in a memory box. But just keep a sampling or a small amount of these things. You don't have to keep everything.
And I think that's often what people get hung up in, is that, gee, how do I pick? What do I do? But once you've done that change that you've made is so freeing. It's really, it's totally amazing to me. One of the things there are several of us who have worked with Mary in Des Moines, who joke about the fact that 4 hours with Mary is better than a day at the spa. And that's my favorite, because I find the opportunity to purge, to get things back to some normalcy. But again, what I know is that means I'm not living organized, I'm just getting organized.
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to extend that so that I can live organized, not just
Right.
have to spend 4 hours a month or whatever getting organized.
Right.
We're going to take a little break here. And when we come back, Mary, one of the things I'd like to talk about is the penchant of people to buy Tupperware or plastics because they think they're going to get organized. And I think one of the things that I find you excel at is using found things. Mm-hmm. So if we can talk about that when we come back, I'd appreciate it. And we'll be right back with Out of the Box in a minute.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I'm administrative manager
I'm the senior technician.
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it. and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me. But is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm going to take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
Welcome back to Outside the Box. Every week we talk with people who are doing things differently, both in central Iowa and across the country, because they really do think outside of the box and help people think outside the box. So today's guest is Mary Sigmund, who lives in Fountain Inn, South Carolina. Mary, until recently, lived in Ames and was a professional certified coach and organizer in the central Iowa area, and she does make visits back to the area periodically. But she's actually moved her business to South Carolina for family reasons, and I'm glad she can join us today because the things she tells us are things you can apply whether she's here or there. But also the fact that she makes those trips back to Iowa. If anybody's interested in talking to her, we're going to have her contact information at the end of the show. So we hope you'll hang in there with us. Anyway, so Mary, before the break, we were talking about the fact that people have a tendency to go out and buy large amounts of Rubbermaid totes, Sterilite boxes. I want to be fair to all brands of plastics. That to them is the overture, if you will, to cleaning out the closet or getting organized. Talk a little bit about what it really takes to get organized and
Sure.
and to move forward in this area.
You're really right. People do have a tendency to over purchase, thinking that buying the stuff is going to make the organization happen. What I like to do with my clients before I meet with them the first time is tell them that all they need to have on hand are a lot of black garbage bags, because I'm hoping we're going to either fill them with charity stuff or with trash, and maybe maybe a few boxes just for sorting, because what I like to do is I like to either use what they have on hand, because I'll say 9 times out of 10, there are some available bins and boxes at the location already because of what we just talked about. And then if we need anything, there's no problem. We'll just make a list of what we need, and I'll have the client go ahead and get that. And then the next time we work together, we'll have those things on hand. Or if we just work together the one time, they know what they need to put into the containers that they go out and buy. One of my favorite things are the Bankers boxes, the sturdy cardboard boxes that you get. I think they come in 6 packs, like at Staples or Office
Or
Depot.
12.
Or 12, and they're easy to put together. They've simplified that process of putting them together, and they're sturdy. You can stack them, and they have lids, and those are really inexpensive alternatives for storage. I know you and I have used a ton of
Hundreds.
those, haven't we?
Well, and the thing that's nice is they're stackable. They have a lid. They have handles, which
Right.
and because they're not real big, you don't have a tendency to overpack them, make them too heavy for
That's
you
right.
to lift or move around. I think at one time you and I used to use the longer Bankers boxes,
They
And-
got too heavy.
and they were too heavy. And also because they're an odd shape, they're very hard to store.
Right. But they were available at the time,
Right.
and yeah, we use them. But if you're going, the things that you have in permanent storage, you may want to invest in the plastic boxes because the plastic bins, either Sterlite or I like the Sterlite because you can see through them. The Rubbermaid, for the most part, aren't clear. That's been my experience. I mean, I may be wrong about that, but I like those because they can keep out a lot of dust and moisture, and they're good for long-term storage.
So let's talk about that seeing unseen thing. You talk about black garbage bags. Now, one of the things that I've learned from you is that by using a black garbage bag, I don't see it again and change my mind.
I didn't think of that, but that's good to know. I like the black garbage bags mostly because they're sturdier, and they hold more and they're larger, and you're able to pack them a little more tightly. But you're right. It's a good strategy to not be able to look inside and think, well, wait a minute, maybe I do want to keep that, but
Or having a family member who inspects the garbage,
well,
who wants to make sure you're not throwing
Right.
away any treasure that they might have.
That's right. Yeah. Well, when it comes to other people's property, I try to encourage my clients to focus on the things that they have control over, the things that are theirs to dispose of or to eliminate, and maybe make a stack of things to ask the other person whether or not they want to keep it or let it go, because you don't want to step on anybody's toes.
Well, and what about how do you handle that with kids?
Well, you
One
mean
of
with
the,
their
one of the
toys?
rules you and I talked about is before you get a new toy, you get rid of a toy or a video game or something. So you don't just keep piling it on, and there's that feeling of, gee, I can give this to somebody who might not have this have the ability to buy this.
Right. Well, I think a lot of times with kids and their toys, if you've noticed that toy hasn't been played with in a really long time, you can be pretty safe in passing it on to another kid without your child noticing. But I mean, if you have a particularly sensitive kid who really, is on top of what they own and they have their little treasures, I would say, sit down and talk with them and ask them if they would be willing to pass some of their toys on to children who may not have as many toys. And also, you could have that plant that idea that, if we do this, we can make room for toys that you don't have yet, for new toys. But if we are all filled up with the toys that you already own, then there's not going to be any room for anything new.
Right, and I think the one thing that I often hear moms talk about on Facebook is the fact that they've figured out how to box toys up and bring out a box periodically
Recycle.
for younger kids. And and those kids think they just got new toys.
That's right. You're right.
But,
If they
but
haven't
really
seen it.
they've split it, and then they put the other ones away for
right.
3 months, and then they bring that box out, and suddenly there are new toys again. It's just
That's
really
right.
interesting to me that kind of at a certain age where kids really aren't aware of what they have, and there's the value of being able to re-stimulate the mind and give them new things to do.
Yeah, and you want to make sure that the toys that you have for your children are age appropriate and, and that you're not getting rid of something that, that was their favorite teddy bear, growing up. And, parents are pretty aware of that sort of thing.
You mean like the bunny at my house? It's been
Right.
around for
Right. The
for
bunny.
26 years. Yes,
Right.
I understand
And you
that.
should keep that, right?
Yep. So, and I noticed that she took it back to Washington, D.C. with her recently, so nothing would happen to it.
There you go.
It needs to have a glass box to be in, I think. So,
They sell those Lucite boxes, where you can display things like that
yep.
at Michael's and Hobby Lobby.
So, what are some other things that people fail to realize they can use to be organized? Setting up systems doesn't necessarily mean you have to buy new materials.
Well, I think as far as paperwork is concerned, the trend now, and I'm seeing this more and more like with my clients who are attorneys, is that scanning your paperwork into the computer and having software support that scanning system has become really the way to go for most professionals. That people are not keeping as much actual paper as they used to keep. They're using the scanning. So a good scanner could be a real boon for not just the professional, but also the household as well.
Well, and scanning kids' artwork.
Yeah.
I mean, I have boxes of children's artwork at my
And if
house,
it's
as you
too-
well know, and really it should be scanned to be preserved.
And if it's too big to scan, you can take a photo of it and scan the photo, because
Or just directly keep the
you just
the
keep
file.
the photo.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
hmm
That's
Yeah.
a great idea.
Yeah. So there are alternatives for that, and I mean, there might be one or two things that are really, really special, but I would say leave it to under 12 things that you actually hold tangibly hold on to for each one of your children as far as artwork is concerned, because what happens, and I've seen this over and over again, is it just gets wrecked. People put it in a bag or they put it in a box, and they don't they fold it up, and they don't spread it out so that it stays crease free, and it ends up being ruined anyway. So what really is the point if you're not going to take good care of it and treasure it? If it's a treasure, then treat it like a treasure.
And on your last visit here, we actually framed a piece that we had moved around the house for several years.
Right.
That was my oldest daughter's, and it's now hanging in an upstairs hallway, which is terrific because now I can see it every day, not just when I open the bag to say, gee, I should frame that.
I should do something with this. Exactly. So you took action. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yes, if you have a Rembrandt in your family, you need to pick something and get it framed and get it up on the wall.
Yep.
So, okay, so let's talk about men. We've kind of made organization sound like just a woman thing. Are there things that men can do in their hobbies, in their workshops? Should they be looking at, for one thing, because of safety reasons, I'm assuming, but rather than letting that go, how should they, for spring, be looking at what they have? Gardening tools, for gosh sakes. Think of all the things we have. Seeing what's new. What kind of approach could the man of the house take organizing in spring.
Right. Well, for the most part, I think most of the men that I work with, and I would say about 20% of my clients are men, and usually it's in their offices, it's business related. But when it comes to their garages and their workshops and their basements and all of that, I think the number one thing that they have to do is remember that 90% of organization is subtraction. Getting rid of the things that they no longer use, no longer need. And that's really a tough call for a lot of men, because I think men have a tendency to, I don't want to generalize because everybody's different, men and women, they're all different. This is the stuff they treasure. This is their toys, are the things in their garages, in their workshops, in their basements.
But we can't buy more if we don't get rid of some.
Well, that's true. Just like the children, right?
Yes.
Okay, but what I would recommend if a guy says, I've really got to get this workshop organized, or I've got to get this garage organized, is set aside a whole weekend, start on Friday night actually, and move everything out of the space. Look at it in really good light, in sunlight, and have them determine, is this something that I really want to keep, or is this something I can let go of, and separate it out that way so that you have less to put back into the garage or back into the workshop, and then set up a system, figure out, how do you want to hang these tools? Do I need to get pegboard and hooks and hang everything up that way? It's really a process, a step-by-step process. And if they can go through that process, they have the patience to go through that process, I think they can be really thrilled and happy with the results of what they end up with.
And I'm assuming it makes people more efficient when they're doing whatever it is they're doing.
No doubt. Absolutely.
You know exactly where it is.
Yeah. You can get your hands on it. You know where it is. You can actually use it. It's the same with anything. It's the same with your closet. If you can walk into your closet and know that every single thing in that closet fits you and you feel good in it, you're going to have a lot less stress in the morning getting dressed, because you're going to know that whatever you put on is going to be good.
And that's a great segue into my next question, because my question really is about purging and about how we have a tendency to hold on to things way longer than we should. Mm-hmm. And that spring closet cleaning. What are some criteria people should use? And this is for men, women, children. What should they look at as we flip closets going into spring?
Well, first of all, you need to ask yourself, when's the last time I actually wore this? Is it something that I choose out of all the things that I have? Well, the statistic is that we wear 20% of our clothing 80% of the time. So is this something that I actually choose to wear? Does it fit me, properly? A lot of times people keep clothing thinking, well, I'm going to lose weight and then I'm going to get back into this. And a lot of times that just becomes a pipe dream, because even if you do lose the weight, when you put that piece back on, it may not fit you in the same way, because you may have lost weight in different places than you thought you were going to lose it. So if it doesn't fit, really think about just letting it go, and starting fresh. Is it the right color? Is it a color that I enjoy wearing? Is it a classic style, something that still is something people aren't going to look at and say, gee, those shoulder pads are way, way, way too big. It looks like 1980s, So, ask yourself these questions, and is it in good condition? Has it faded? Or is it pilling? Have I worn it enough times now that I feel comfortable just kind of letting it go?
Yeah, it's tough to stand in the closet and look at things and say, gee, what should I do now? Mm-hmm. When we come back, we're going to take a quick break, Mary, mm-hmm. and that'll let you get a drink of water. And when we come back, we're going to talk about my favorite tips Mary's ever shared with me. Mm-hmm. We hope you'll be here when we return.
From From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drink, dance, party. Kitty's is the ultimate dance club in Des Moines. A huge dance floor with room to move, 3 bars to keep your drinks full, and kickin' DJs playing all your favorite dance music. At Kitty's, we've always got your birthday party planned with Birthday Fridays. That's right, when your birthday rolls around, there's only one place to go. Gather up your friends and head to Kitty's, where you drink free on the Friday of your birthday week. Find out more about Birthday Fridays at kittiesusa.com. Kitty's, all kinds of people, all kinds of music, all kinds of fun.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back to Outside the Box. Today my guest is Mary Sigmund, certified professional organizer and coach. Mary currently resides in Fountain Inn, South Carolina, but has heartstrings back here to Des Moines. And what we're talking about is really that spring cleaning and what you can do with or without a coach in some cases. Good to know that you can call somebody to help, but also what can you do yourself. And Mary, what I'd like to do now is talk about some tips you've shared with me over the years, and just share some ideas that people might be able to take something away today to put into how they operate today that, you know, kind of gives them a step in the right direction towards organizing. And I'm going to start with a really simple one.
Okay.
You taught me, and Easter, you know, Easter was on Sunday. I'm sure people had the candlesticks out on the Easter dinner table. Well, maybe not everybody, but some. And one of the things you taught me is to take an old sock and to put my tapers in an old sock. Do you remember that tip?
I do remember that tip.
Yep.
Yeah.
And some of those things, there are other things that we talked about the fact that you can roll your napkins around used, spent paper towel tubes to keep them nice and fresh, so you don't have to iron them every time you use them.
Right.
So what are some other things that people might be able to do today? I think one thing that you and I have always talked about as we approach something is, what are you going to use first?
Oh, yes. And pack in reverse, like with Christmas decorations and things like that, or linens or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Or
The
even
things-
under the sink.
The things you use most or least frequently go toward the back, and the things, of course, that you use most frequently, what you would put in the front. Right.
Yes, and of course, getting rid of the things you don't use at all.
At all,
is,
right. Those go. Subtract.
We talked a little bit on a recent visit about the fact that I have a collection of 5 Angel Food cake pans. I'm not sure
Well.
when I will ever bake
Right.
5 at a
Right.
time. So, so one of the things I think we have talked about, is the fact that one of those belonged to my grandmother.
Mhm.
So that's the one I would keep.
Right. And then, you may want to keep the one that belonged to your grandmother as kind of your keepsake one, but then also have like an everyday go-to one that in case things did go awry and something burned, it wouldn't be so tragic that you ruined your grandmother's cake pan. But that's a personal decision that each person has to make as to if you have something that's really sentimental or valuable, do you actually want to use it, or do you want to keep it in the category of memory, and protect it for future generations or passing it on to your daughters.
Yes,
But
and if I had 5 daughters, I'd have 5 age of food
right.
cake pans
And
to
I
give
I
to
would
them.
encourage you to give them to them right now.
Yes, except for the one that's in college who doesn't have a place for an
cake
age of food cake pan.
Well, just when I was just back there in February working with my Des Moines clients, I worked with someone who had that very situation, that they had their grandmother's. We did the kitchen, and they had their grandmother's things, but they had a stack of pie pans, glass pie pans. And for some reason, it just struck me because I've done this in the past. I said to her, is it possible that you would ever make pies as a Christmas gift and give the person the pie and also just release the glass pie pan with it, and if you got it back, fine, and if you didn't get it back, fine. So that if you're the type of person that does that sort of thing, that gives pies as a gift at Christmas time, you may want to have 6 or 7 pie pans underneath your sink. So it really is a case by case situation. You have to determine like you talked about the Tupperware containers. Well, the ones that you keep for leftovers. Really, you need to ask yourself, how many leftovers do I actually have in one given occasion? And stacks and stacks and stacks of those usually are really not necessary. So what we did with this particular client, and I know you know who I'm talking about, is we went through all of those containers, made sure which ones had lids, which ones were kind of grody because they had been used too many times. And we got it down to a manageable amount of containers so that there was enough to keep leftovers for certainly a good 1 or 2 meals, and also a few extras in case you wanted to send some leftovers home with a guest.
Well, and the other thing too is if you don't have a Mary, that's something you could actually assign to a child. That once a month they go through the Tupperware drawer and make sure everything has a lid,
right?
And that things that have been in the microwave too long and got that bubbly icky around the outside, which are now releasing toxins, you get rid of those. But
Exactly.
that you do that more than just once every 4 years. You do it on a frequent basis.
Mm-hmm. That's a great job for a kid. And kids love that sort of thing. It's something that's interesting enough to keep their attention but not so complicated that they can't execute
handle it.
Mm-hmm.
The other tip that you and I have talked about and that you have really helped me with is the kitchen table. Making sure that the kitchen table is accessible to dinner, especially if you value family meals.
Right.
Often, though, there's always some place in the house that becomes unruly. What should a person look at when they look at that unruly spot, whether it's the dining room table or the kitchen counter? What should they, because generally the person who's looking at it isn't the only person contributing it to it.
Right.
What should they look at, and how might they set it up so that they can get everybody to contribute to the control?
Well, one of my favorite things to suggest to people is if you have kids and maybe a mom and a dad who are bringing things in and piling things onto that spot you're talking about, whether it's the dining room table or the kitchen counter, or the kitchen table, is to have a basket for each person with their name on it labeled so that they know it's their basket. And anything that comes in that they want to put into that area has to go into their basket. And then have it a rule that, at least once a week, and maybe hopefully even more often than that, to go through that. Each person goes through their basket and goes through it and gets rid of the stuff that they no longer need, or takes action on the things that require action. I know in your case, we have those magazine holders, and each one member of your family has one, and any mail or papers that need their attention goes into that magazine holder. And I don't know if people know what I mean, but one of those boxes that you get that
you
put
store
together,
magazines
right?
in.
Yeah, and you can store magazines in, and that seems to have worked for many years for your family. And every time I've been there, it's never been overflowing. Everybody seems to get the picture and looks in their basket, and it's almost kind of exciting for them, I would imagine, to see, well, what's in there now, or what has mom put in my container that I may not have seen, or I may need to pay attention to.
Right. Or if they've lost something in the house, that's the go-to spot.
That would be where it would be.
Right. Often. And those magazine holders that you're talking about, I think we bought those at IKEA for $1.99 for 6. So very inexpensive.
Right.
Doesn't have to be a Longaberger basket.
That's right.
It really simple. But I think the other thing, and let's talk about this, that the fact is you can try things and they may not work. And so it's okay to say, this isn't working. Let's try something different.
Right, especially if you've only paid $1.96 for 6 of them. It's a lot easier to try out that system, and if it doesn't work, to, try something else that might work better. And one of the frequently asked questions that I get is, what's the best system? And my answer is always the same. I always say the one that's going to work for you, the one that you're actually going to adopt and use on a daily basis. That's the best system, because there's no one answer for any group of people. Each person has to determine what's going to work for them, what they're going to be willing to work with.
Right.
I can give a lot of suggestions for kinds of systems, but it's got to be something that you're really going to commit yourself to using.
Well, and I think one of the things that I remember is when you and I first started working together, I was a binder person. And I would 3-hole punch things and put them in binders by category or event or whatever volunteer thing I was involved in. And over time, what you and I discovered was, first of all, nothing fit in a binder because there were too many things. So what we moved to then was having a bag for each thing. I happen to be involved in Festival of Trees, and I'm on another board, and there was a work bag. Having those things in something with a handle that if I had to run out the door to go to the meeting, I ended up there with everything I needed.
Exactly. And you're talking about a canvas bag, the kind of canvas bags that we get at every conference and every workshop that we go to. And they're really too nice for the most part, to throw away.
Yes.
So this is a really good way to use them, to have one designated bag for each one of your projects, or compartmentalize your life in a way so that each bag represents a meeting that you go to or a project that you're working on in it. And they're easy to store, they're flexible, and like you say, they've got a handle. All you have to do is grab and go, and you're all set. You have everything.
Well, and actually, I thought of you last night as I went to Taekwondo with my son, and I have a bag for like just miscellaneous bills to be paid or thank yous to send, and that time while he's doing Taekwondo is a perfect time for me to take advantage of the downtime that affords me to do those things. But if I had to go find the paper, find the pen, find the bills, find the checkbook, I would never get it done. So having that hanging there I also know that when it's overflowing, it's time to do something.
With them, right? But that's such a great time management tip, because if you do have a lifestyle where you do spend a significant amount of time waiting, while something's going on, like your son's a taekwondo, or if you have a particular doctor's appointment that they are always running a half hour late, you always know to either keep that bag in your car or take that bag with you when you go, so that you can utilize that time and get something accomplished that may not have gotten accomplished if you hadn't taken that bag with you.
The other tip that I think that's Mary has shared with me is getting things put together. Having folders on 3 floors of the house may save you running up and down the stairs, but really what happens is you don't realize how much you have and whether you need more or not. So having centralized location for supplies, keeping things in a place where you don't have to guess where they are is significant. Can you speak to that just a little bit, Mary?
Well, I think what you said is true. For instance, on that is whenever I'm working with someone who wants to organize their photos,
That's
their
a
printed,
good one.
their printed photos. I always say, first step is just gather all the photos up into one spot, get them all together so that every photo you have in that house is in one place. So typically it might be the dining room table. And then the next step would be to start sorting through the pictures and separating them out into whatever categories you want it to be. Like, could be your childhood, then your early years of marriage, then maybe pictures of, when you took vacations with the kids, however far back you want to go. Find some kind of a system where you can separate them out into different categories, and then go through them again and eliminate the ones that are duplicates or if you want to make a package up for one of your kids, of duplicates, put those in a pile for them. So it's really a step-by-step process, but I think starting out with everything all in one place is the easiest way to get going and to do it. And then you also see the scope of the project when you have everything right there in front of you. You know how much time you have to dedicate and how big of a job it's going to be. But as far as your supplies, I like to have one central place for office supplies, so that anybody in the family who needs a folder knows exactly where to go. And I know in your home we have that file cabinet in the kitchen by the computer where all of the extra supplies are, and then there's a couple other little spots one dedicated for your son where his school supplies are. And then you also have up in your office on the 3rd floor, which I can understand why you would have a little cache of office supplies up there. But, to have them scattered throughout the house and here, there, and everywhere, that's really counterproductive and really a bad use of space. But I think you've got that one pretty well under control.
Well, and my favorite was when you encouraged me to put all permanent markers in a box.
In one place, right?
Yes, in one place for 2 reasons. One was to avoid having children use them on surfaces that became permanently marked.
Like walls, right?
Right, exactly. And I think that's been in place for over 10 years. And then I also know what I have for artwork, or when the kids do have a project for school, that they're allowed to use those markers. Right. And but they're not commingled with the washable ones.
Right. And it's the same with a whiteboard markers. You definitely want to keep your whiteboard markers in a separated box, because if you mix that up with a permanent marker, you've ruined your whiteboard.
Exactly. So that was another tip very early on. And
it worked.
And now the kids know to ask for the permanent marker box if they have some project, and then it also gives me as a parent an opportunity to make sure that they're using those markers in a way that won't permanently damage something.
Exactly.
So, we talked about school supplies, and kids also have tons of toys. There's tons of ways that you can organize just little bits every day, whether encouraging kids to put things in plastic sacks. As people approach spring and what they're doing, what would you give their word, not so much a tip, but words of wisdom about how to approach being organized coming into the spring?
Into spring? Well, I think I would start out by making a comprehensive list of all the projects that you really want to get accomplished. And that could be anything from painting the bathroom to, cleaning out a closet or organizing your office supplies, just a putting new screens in the windows, switching out your winter clothes to your summer clothes. Just make a comprehensive list of everything that you want to get accomplished. And then ask yourself realistically, how long is this project going to take? Because I think we have a tendency to underestimate the amount of time that things take. They usually take 2 or 3 times longer than we think they will. And see, that way you're not frustrated or disappointed when you realize that it's taking a little bit longer than you thought it was going to take. And then on each one of those, next to each one of those tasks that you determine you want to do, make a list of all the action steps that are going to be needed to get it accomplished. If it's the screens, maybe you have to go out and buy screening material, and then find somebody that's able to do that kind of a job and call that person. If it's cleaning out the closet, maybe the first step would be to buy new hangers. If all of your hangers are, kind of wire ones, and I love those new felt hangers. They're very thin, and they're very inexpensive. So maybe go out and buy hangers that all match so that your things hang more uniformly, and that might give you, having something new like that, a new little toy or tool is a really good incentive for actually doing the project, so that you can see a really beautiful result.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mary, I appreciate your being with us today, and I want to put up your contact information.
Okay.
We can find you at organizer-coach.com, which is the website. Right. And even though you are in faraway South Carolina, you are as close as email and phone, which I think is awesome. If you go to Facebook to Outside the Box, the webpage, Mary's contact information will be there as well after the show. So hopefully you can, if you have questions, you'll be able to learn more from her. She has a great blog that I encourage you to sign up for. And you can see her email here. So Mary, I just want to wave goodbye to you one last time.
Okay, thank you.
So have a great day, and we'll have you on again, because I think there's unending topics in this arena.
All right,
All
great.
right.
I'll look forward to it.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks so much.
Okay, and thanks to all of you for joining me today for Outside the Box. Continual look at thinking those people who not only create and deliver services outside of the box, but also thoughts for you on how you might live outside the box. Thanks, and have a great week.